This is episode 7 of the Living Reminders with Mary and Blake.
2% doesn't sound like much. But 2% of the entire planet, of every person on it, that's more than the world's 10 largest cities combined. It's 140 million people. And like that, they were gone.
All the way from Providence, Rhode Island and Brooklyn, New York, welcome to the Living Reminders. It's a podcast dedicated to the show The Leftovers on HBO. We're still here, and so are you. So let's talk about Guest. I'm your host, Mary Larson.
My name is Blake, and you should know that I'm a fucking mess.
Aww.
Poor Kevin, right? Oh my god.
I love that that's how he hits on a girl.
Yeah, just comes up front. Hey, I gotta give him credit at least. Like, he's just telling her, hey, I'm screwed up, man. That's okay. I just want you to know that, right?
Honesty is the best policy sometimes.
That's how you get the girl sometimes.
I like it. What did you think about this episode, Blake?
God, I keep saying this every single episode, but this was the best episode yet. I loved this episode.
I agree. You want to know why? Because Nora is batshit crazy. And you did not know from scene to scene what was going to happen, if the grenade was real, if she was going to shoot people. Like, she could go off her rocker at any moment. So I loved watching this show unfold. But before we talk about this week's show, let's see if there's anything that we missed from last week that you want to talk about.
All right, the first thing that we missed was Meg. Last episode, she said that line, "I don't feel scared." Is that weird? About what happened to Gladys. I liked this line. I don't know why we skipped it, but it was that first early beginning transition from Meg being like the person that she was into the GR. And they included that for a very specific reason, this line. She's starting to not feel. That's the same thing that Patty wanted of Gladys, the same thing that she wanted for Lori, to start to be unfeeling. I like that a lot. The second thing I noticed it too was Matt's congregation. It's getting a little bit bigger, right?
Really?
Oh yeah, it's getting bigger. When they go to that study group at his house, because now the church is gone and it's been sold to the GR.
Yeah.
For some reason, during that time span that happened when the church was sold to this episode, I think it was like a period of like 6 weeks or so from the timestamps of what was included in the show, his congregation has grown. Now, whether that is a result of the money that he got or something else, or people starting to believe in him, maybe he's changing his ways, like he said later on in this particular episode, Guest, maybe people are seeing that and they are flocking to him for his guidance. I'm not sure. We also got an email from Glenn B. He said, during the call with Kevin and the agent from ATFEC, when Kevin first answered the phone, it clearly shows the agent's name, which was Kalani. Then listed on Kevin's phone later on, when he kind of messes with his phone, he looks back over it once the voice starts to change, like how I talked to you about in the last episode. The call goes rogue, and his phone shows unknown caller. So is this something that Kevin is making up in his brain, or is this just like a problem with the show, like a mistake that the show made?
Or is it like the devil?
Yeah, I know, right? That's why I said, and you laughed at me when I called it demonic last week, but I'm telling you, there's something different about this guy's voice when he goes into that little monologue about, hey, we're gonna exterminate these people.
I am no longer picking up my phone when it is unlisted.
Stay away from unknown callers. Stranger danger. And the final thing we received was actually from Chiquita, our girl Chiquita, via email. She was wondering why we didn't discuss when Kevin woke up from his dream after it showed apparently that he woke up right after Gladys was stoned in the face. The way that it was staged right after Gladys was stoned, you would have thought he dreamt it. She only mentions it because in episode 2, he had a dream where Amy led him out in the woods, and Dean the dog hunter was shooting a woman, and then Kevin's feet caught on fire. Was it foreshadowing for episode 5? That's why everything we see is important, no matter how insignificant it seems. Chiquita, you're right, girl. We didn't even think about that, and I don't think anybody has thought like that. I haven't heard one podcast or one article that has mentioned something like that. Do you think it was foreshadowing?
I was too busy looking at Justin Thoreau without a shirt on.
Oh my
So
God! Can we not go back to this?
I'm just saying. Good for you, Chiquita, because I was too busy checking out that fine piece of specimen.
Let's play Figure Out That Title.
Believe it or not, I think I got this week's title. This is like a whole new thing. I feel like
2 episodes in a row.
Yeah, so this title was Guest.
Correct.
So Nora's name tag, of course, was Guest, which she was super bummed about because someone stole hers. But it went a lot deeper than that.
Yes, it is a name tag. It was something as similar as something as simple as her wearing it around her neck. But what she was missing, because she had to get guessed, someone was impersonating her. But what she was missing was that identity. It was showing a side of Nora, the guest side, that she wants but doesn't want at the same exact time. Her name, her identity is Nora Durst. And in Mapleton, that is a famous thing. That carries a lot of weight. Nora's the lady that lost her whole family. Everybody kind of gives her a pass. And you see that, in that coffee cup scene in the diner that she was in. They kind of give her a pass in that scene. And then even in the scene when she is getting round up by the hotel security, they bring her in. They're like, who would want to be you? Why would somebody want to impersonate you? And she tells them that she lost her whole family. And she also suggests to them that a lot of sympathy comes with that. She's right. And she's admitting it right to our faces that she wants that identity. She likes it. She likes knowing that she holds that kind of gravitas around people.
Maybe not that she likes it, but maybe it just is her life. And that's, if anything, a plus from this. I wouldn't say that she likes it. I mean, in the end, you end up seeing she changes her life.
Well, I think she hates it too. And if you notice during the divorce court scene, they talk about they say, okay, well, would you like to go back to your maiden name? She says, nope, I don't want that. I want to remain Nora Durst. So, in essence, she likes it. I think she does like it because it gives her that ability, but she hates it too because it reminds her of all that pain and suffering she's going through. And Guest gave her an opportunity to see what happens when life moves on. She was a guest of what could have been, what could be, what should be in her life. It should be moving on. She was a literal guest to what her life could be. That's what I think this episode was about. It's time to reheat the leftovers.
Hey everyone, I just wanted to quickly let you know that our sound quality is a little different this week. I am Skyping in to do this podcast with Blake because I'm in Brooklyn right now, visiting my friend who just had a baby. And she's a fellow Leftovers watcher. So we actually watched this week's episode together.
That must have been cool.
Yeah, but I am doing this via the iPad, so I apologize that you don't get to hear my voice crystal clear.
All right, let's get into it.
All right, let's just start off by saying Nora's life sucks. She has a job that makes her depressed, where she talks to other depressed people and asks them depressing questions. Then she decides every part of her day, let's go stalk the woman who my husband was cheating on me with my gun and just give her like the stink eye. Then she goes food shopping to go get really good food. I mean, she got Cinnamon Toast Crunch. That's my favorite. And then she goes home to a museum. And she acts like her family's there. She bought a huge gallon of milk. She bought all these things. And then you see her take away all of the old pieces of food. So she is food shopping as if her kids are still with her, as if her family's still with her. And, God, she just sits there. And you just realize that girlfriend is so sad. You do not want to see her.
I'm not sure if it's because it's like her family is there. Or is it more like that she's waiting for her family to return?
I took it as more as she's waiting for them to return.
Oh, yeah, me too.
Yeah, she just in case. I mean, you hear these stories, sadly, when kids run away or whatever, the parents leave everything the way it was, just in case they come back.
And she definitely did that, too, by the way. You saw the kids' rooms with all the puzzles, and it was like a mausoleum almost. Yeah. Like, it was just like, you were right. I think that term museum is actually even a better one, where it was just, everything was just left. And I didn't see any dust on anything, by the way. So is she
No.
like cleaning it the way that it was supposed, like just the way that it was left?
Oh yeah, definitely. She's going and she's washing their sheets and she's folding it and everything's being put back exactly the way it is. Oh, she's keeping that room crystal clear.
And how about leaving that paper towel thing like totally empty the way that it was back on October 14th? 3 years ago. She had an empty paper towel roll sitting there for 3 years. That's ridiculous.
That's one of my pet peeves. I hate empty towel rolls. Blake can attest to this. We have to have in our house at least 10 extra rolls because if I do not have a paper towel roll, I'm going to go crazy. I use it. Bounty, I should have stock in Bounty. Anyway, I thought that Nora was like, you know what? I've had a really rough day. I'm really sad. I would like some lovin'. And I thought that she might be starting to swing for the other team. So she starts to look in a slutty magazine, puts out a little inflatable bed, and this girl shows up. And I was like, oh, Nora. Oh, okay. You know.
That a girl. Go get some love.
Yeah, like maybe you're just all set with men, all set with Kevin, because, you know, Kevin's a cheater, and you might have this bad idea that all men are cheaters. I don't know. But instead, she hires this woman to come and shoot her. And you're like, Nora. Don't die, Nora. But instead, she wears a bulletproof vest, and she just wants to get shot, to get the wind knocked out of her, maybe to get a thrill. It kind of reminded me when Bella's character in New Moon used to go and do dangerous hood rat things. To,
like smoke cigarettes.
Yeah. To see Edward. You
Yeah,
know?
she would
So
do like
really,
the adrenaline stuff.
there's a possibility.
Oh my god,
That song.
I hate that whole freaking scene.
But she's doing it to see him, and that's what I was thinking. Like, Nora's doing this maybe so that she can dream about her family or feel like she's leaving, but she obviously isn't being killed. So
Can we also have a cool shout out to Slayer being played in this scene the whole time? Like, I haven't heard Slayer in probably a decade, and the fact that Angel of Death came up like on her CD was phenomenal. And you know, I wanted to go do some research about Angel of Death. And one of the lyrics that came up, it kept coming up, and it was very prevalent, and it was very relevant to the scene, which was praying for the end of your wide awake nightmare. Now, let me ask you this question. Do you think that Nora really did not want to die? And if that's the case, that's fine. No problem. She just wants that thrill, or she just wants to feel again. No problem. But she's causing like this real stressful environment for this girl, Angel, who has never shot anybody, never used a gun. She just fucks people for a living, right? That's what she says.
yeah, but I think she turned the music on so people wouldn't hear the gunshot.
Yeah, sure, no problem, but she's still creating a stressful environment. Do you think that if Angel missed, that Nora would be okay with it?
Yeah.
You think so?
Oh yeah, you definitely take that chance. Otherwise, Nora would have, you know, maybe gotten shot with a Nerf gun or something. I don't know. Yeah.
But again, the song's name is Angel of Death. Of course, the girl, the whore that's brought in, her name is Angel. Angel of Death, maybe it was intended to be like to have her kill Nora. I don't know, but it's pointing that way.
Then, because Nora is in such a good mood, she goes and decides to finally get divorced to a husband that doesn't exist. Talk about an awkward judge and awkward proceedings.
Oh my God, I know. And then thinking about this too, legally, they are not dead. And they brought up the insurance question that you and I had talked about a couple episodes ago. Remember how I said that insurance wouldn't pay because it was an act of God, that they couldn't possibly be responsible for whatever happened to the departure.
Yeah.
And I wasn't necessarily wrong, but I wasn't necessarily right either. What they're saying is they're technically not dead, and you can't reimburse somebody for being dead if they aren't technically dead. And more to that point, the judge says, you realize if your husband comes back, you are legally going to be divorced. That to me is enormous. They're still, at least legally, allowing for these people to come back. And what does that say about what's happening with the people and the government? Is it that ambiguous loss that guy Patrick Johansson, who wrote the book What's Next, that you find later on in the show? Is it that ambiguous loss that nobody can really move on?
I think it's just the government and the courts dotting their I's and crossing their T's and saving their butts.
Yeah, that's true.
So why did she keep her last name?
Well, I think it's because, again, it's that identity thing. She likes being Nora Durst. I don't care what anybody says. Nora Durst holds gravity. It holds weight in Mapleton. She is like that consummate big fish in little pond type deal.
Yeah.
And, you know, and that would also explain that why when she goes to New York, she doesn't want to go. She doesn't want to be there. It's like this work thing that she just doesn't necessarily need to go to. Nobody knows her there. She even says that when the hotel guy's like, why would they want to impersonate you? She's like, well, nobody knows me. Nobody has seen my face. She could easily impersonate me. And when she gets that identity taken away from her in this big pond or big ocean, she freaks out. And I don't blame her for freaking out, but I think she keeps the name because she likes having that reminder of her family, of her identity, of that loss that she keeps going back to.
I really wished that there was a cameo in this episode.
By whom?
Beyonce.
Why Beyonce?
Because Nora comes out, she bumps into Kevin, and she's like, hey, I just got a divorce. And he's like, I'm getting one too. And I wanted Beyonce to run on out, all my single ladies, all my single ladies, all my single ladies, and have Kevin and Nora on the other side of her doing that dance, and like show their unmarried hands.
If you like that, you should have put a ring on it.
Yeah.
You think?
And she basically says, hey, you want to go screw and go to Miami? And she says, F your daughter, which, excuse me, Nora, that was like really uncalled for.
Well,
Like,
you see, that's the thing. Nora Durst can get away with that. She can totally get away with that because people look at her like, oh, it's only Nora Durst, and she's screwed up. She lost her whole family. She's like that crazy old uncle that you have, or like the crazy grandpa that like says whatever he wants to say at any time, and everyone's just like, oh, well, that's Grandpa Steve. You know, he does that.
God, Nora needs a therapist like yesterday. So she goes to her very uplifting job at work, you know, the U.S. Department of Sudden Departure.
Mm-hmm, which is real now.
Yeah.
We didn't think it was real.
Real deal. Great. She gets reprimanded a little bit because question number 121, which is, do you believe The Departed is in a better place? They're saying, hey, Nora, when you ask everyone this, everyone says yes. Are you like smiling at them? Are you kind of giving them hope? And she's like, no, I don't influence them at all. And they're like, yeah, we don't really believe you. Do your job better.
And she took it like as a personal affront, kind of, where she was just like, why? You could see it in her face where she was like, why would you even think that? Like, I do my job. And she recites everything. Like when she's saying, oh, I'm not authorized to look at the data. I don't even see the data. It just goes straight to Annapolis. She's just reciting it like no problem, like it's written on paper.
Why do you think everyone was saying yes?
Well, that's a very complicated question. Was she influencing people? Maybe. That's a definite possibility. Here's the question that I have. Was she subconsciously putting yes every single time because she wants her family to be in a better place?
Oh, I think she was giving them eyes. I think she was giving them eyes and a little smile like, you know they're in a better place, right? Say yes. Well, I think she was giving them.
Well, okay, all right. But you don't think that she, like, even if the person said no, I don't think that they're in a better place. You don't think that Nora, with her guilt, with her
craziness, I mean, let's call it what it is.
Oh, yeah, crazy girl. You don't think that she, even though the person said no, that she was subconsciously putting yes on the paper just because it made herself feel better?
Yeah, I wouldn't put it past her. You're right.
Especially in this crazy time.
So, crazy time, she goes to crazy town, where I am now, in New York. I mean, New York does not need any more crazy people. Why don't they send these people to a nice, relaxing environment, not a stress-induced environment like New York City? And so, of course, she's there, and there's all those protesters making her feel like crap. Then that person in white, who kind of looks like a guilty remnant, I don't know if it's a guilty remnant, hands her a grenade and makes it look like it's a live, hot grenade.
Oh, and I loved this scene because it highlights what Nora's going through. And that's why I maintain that Nora secretly wanted Angel to kill her. Because she's putting herself in these positions, and she gets the grenade, and it says, what does it say? It says, anytime now. It says, anytime now. It's written on the grenade. And then the guy pulls the pin, And he walks away, and she holds it, looks at it, and she says, you know what, screw it, and just drops it. Now, maybe she knew that the thing was fake. Maybe it was lighter, and she could tell that there was no core to it. That's a distinct possibility. But based on what we saw, you could just see that she didn't give a shit anymore. She didn't care. Hey, what happens, happens, man.
I would have had that, screamed, thrown it, and ran in the other direction. Oh my God, girl needs to like get with it.
It just didn't matter if it dropped. It didn't matter if it blew up. It's kind of ridiculous. And I noticed too that I took like note of all the different signs that were around her, like the protesters and all the different things you saw. Obviously, you saw like a sea of guilty remnant people. You saw signs that said "Bring them back." It never happened. The WHO, the World Health Organization, did it. You saw a pope, a guy dressed up like a pope. You saw all these different people. You also saw Tomorrow's Family. That cult was there as well. It was great getting that kind of perspective that these people, these citizens of the United States, don't all buy into this fact that the departure was this thing that they have to get over. There's like, those people that like protest 9/11, that we call them truthers. Like they think that the government's behind everything. That's what these people reminded me of.
Oh, man.
Oh, did you notice the Rhode Island call out and at the SDS?
Twice.
Oh,
Yeah.
wasn't it? And they said that the most amount of participation in the benefits was in Rhode Island. And I'm going to take credit for this. I think we should take credit for this shout out.
I agree.
Because clearly our good friend Damon Lindelof and our good friend Kath Lingenfelter, they listen to our show all the time. We're just that famous, I know. And we clearly influenced their writing skills. What do you think?
They were like, which state should we give a shout out to? Rhode Island.
We love the Living Reminders podcast. Rhodey, Lil Rhodey, you deserve a shout out.
Nora goes to this conference, which is so archaic, all right? You need to be having some tablet check-in, face recognition. You don't just go handing out these little, what are they called, lanyards?
Yeah,
don't just be handing that out.
How about checking ID? How about checking ID while we're at it?
I mean, if you know that this event is high security, that you've got crazy people outside, these people need to get with it. I understood why Nora was mad, but then she really let that woman have it. And Nora has a temper. Oh,
Nora gave her the business. And again, crazy girl talk here. Oh, a drop conference. So just want to get this out. This is is it an anagram? Anagram for departure-related occupations and practices.
Nora then continues her bad attitude and wrongfully accuses some woman of stealing her badge, and the woman's like, you don't remember me? Last year you called me a heartless bitch because I made the distinction that a lot of children who suddenly departed ate Frosted Flakes. They ate sugar. And you got so mad because you said I said your kid disappeared because of Frosted Flakes. And that's not at all what I said. I said that a lot of people who disappeared ate sugar.
I know everyone's trying to look for a commonality. They're trying to boil it down to metrics and trying to boil it down to something that's actually tangible. But how stupid is that? Honestly, come on now. Really?
I would have disappeared.
Oh,
I love sugar.
Oh my God.
You know what I love so much?
What?
I love the what are those like fruits? The fruit slices that are meant that like older people like. The jelly fruit slices. I love that stuff.
Oh my God. All right, let's go. Let's keep moving.
Okay. Then, okay, I don't know. There's this guy in the elevator. We've seen him all the time. I'm calling him White Wayne because you can tell he's like a healer of some fashion.
Oh, the bald guy?
Yeah, but I actually took notes and I called him White Wayne because I felt like he was, very spiritual. Granted, at the end, we find out he's bros with regular Wayne, with Holy Wayne. But for the time being, I'll call him White Wayne. Orange stickers, of course, you find out mean that you are a legacy, which means you've lost somebody. Mm-hmm. So you find this out because Nora gets into an elevator with the guy that was trying to hit on her. Mm-hmm. And she still has the guest pass on her, and she gets to see the other side of people who are just trying to move on, who haven't personally been affected. And she gets to see that they like kind of bash those who are legacies. Like, get over yourself. Like, why do you think you're better than us? Because you lost someone close to you. We're all still in this world together.
Yeah, how many times are we supposed to say sorry?
Yeah. Oh, that's tough, man. Nora gets a little a little crazy, a little tipsy.
Girl, Kath Lingenfelter actually tweeted out that the drug that she took is some futuristic, in the Leftovers universe, form of Xanax. And it's like supposed to be an antidepressant. So they're handing out like these antidepressants at this place, like, and it sponsors the drop conference. So like, wow. Tell me you're going to a drop conference that's sponsored by an antidepressant drug? That is crazy talk.
Wow, good luck. Good luck. Well, Marcus, who is this flirtatious guy, he ends up saying something, I think it was him, about how getting this money if someone suddenly departed is bullshit. Because if your dad suddenly died in a water skiing accident, they wouldn't make you fill out all this paperwork over and over and over and over again. But for all these other people that have just disappeared, they have to go through this heartbreaking process, and that's why he's created these fake bodies for $4,000 a piece.
No, not four.
40, sorry.
$40,000 a piece. Oh, of course, that's the high end. They do have lesser models that look less realistic as he relayed to Nora.
Wow. I would not, once again, Blake, I told you this before, I would not buy a fake body of yours. I would I would burn your books.
Don't you dare touch my books.
Trust me, a lot of them are outdated. I'd maybe burn like your holy underwear, not holy like Wayne, and I would send it off to sea. I would not spend $40,000 to buy a fake plastic person. However, Nora would spend money to get jiggy with that.
Oh my God.
Girlfriend was being hardcore with that fake body.
First of all, this party was hardcore. I loved this scene because it reminded me of the scene in the pilot with all the teenagers where they had their own party, like that huge. Okay, who goes to a conference and has a freaking orgy like this?
Lots of people.
I don't know, man. That's like that's a straight up orgy.
You have not been to conferences, work conferences. People crazy. Do you remember what our friend told us about his conference and what people were doing?
Yes.
Our friend just organized a conference for his profession. I'm not even going to say what profession it is because I'm going to incriminate people. But people got so crazy. A girl was naked on top of her car. Another one was found in a bush. And then some older woman woke up to find poop smeared all over her door. So people
go crazy.
Get crazy at conferences.
I don't know. I guess what I'm saying is, remember when I said about that scene with the high school kids? They were having that kind of party. They were doing these things because they couldn't feel anymore. And they were trying to do anything to actually feel. And I think that these people here in the conference are doing the same thing. The guy even says it to Nora. Marcus even says it to Nora when he says, are you going to die with this panel or are you going to live with us? And she, because she's guest now, she's a guest in her own life, she can actually move on for that one time. I loved the juxtaposition there.
Then girlfriend gets kicked out of the hotel.
Oh.
Hotel, motel, Holiday Inn, we don't care. You are Nora Durst, and you did a bad thing last night. You're kicked out. And all of a sudden, Max Richter's music just floods this scene, and she's out in the busy streets of New York, mad as a hornet, and she is just pissed beyond belief, finds a place to wash her armpits in a sink, put on some new clothes. I thought she was going to try to go in a different outfit and like get some fake glasses and try to be a little incognito and wiggle her way back in. She was not very slick.
Yeah, because she's Nora Durst. She's going to do what she wants to do.
She even makes her own new name tag, finds some orange stickers, just marches right in there, and gets stopped by the security. And that's when that whole conversation is where she says, someone's impersonating me. And they say, who would ever want to impersonate you? No offense, but who would want to be you? Excuse me. I hate when people say that. I hate when people say no offense. If you're going to say that, you're being offensive.
That implies you being offensive.
Yes. Like, are you serious? No offense, but who would want to be you? No offense, but no, not allowed. If you're a listener of ours, please don't say no offense. It hurts people's feelings. It doesn't work. So she's nervous. She's nervous that this person is going to impersonate her at the panel. And I wonder what was going through her mind. I wonder what she thought this type of person would be like. And truth be told, there is a person impersonating her. It's just some crazy woman who wanted to take some time to say, you've all been lied to. She's just like one of the protesters outside.
And Lindelof wrote this scene in a very cool way, because once Nora heard what she wanted to hear, that the woman was an imposter, He then made it so that all the sound kind of died down. But before it went completely away, you heard this woman, I think her name was Courtney, she said that the government was experimenting with a type of plasma that had the ability to target human matter from outer space and leave almost no residue. Now, is there any truth to this? I have no freaking idea. But Lindelof made it a point to include it in the episode. So maybe the government is a little bit more behind this than we think. Or more likely, this is just a crazy-ass truther out there.
She is. So Nora, gets her little name tag, doesn't seem happy, sits down, has a drink at the bar, and she ends up sitting next to this really jolly fellow who you come to find out is an author of this book that they've been handing out. I hate free books at conferences. I leave it there. If your book is given to me for free at a conference, it's because it's not good.
Mm-hmm.
All right? Or at least give me the free Kindle QR code, because I'm not going to be carrying that around. Books feel heavy. I'm not going to do that. So she's just really mad at this guy because he's so happy, and she tells him, you lost people, but you lost some old people too. You still have your daughter, and she said that they're never going to come back. Nothing is next. Kind of pisses him off, and he runs out of the building.
Well,
so who shows up? What?
Before we move on real quickly, Nora asks him, why isn't there a question mark at the end of your book? Instead, it's a period. And the guy says to her, well, we can't spend our lives waiting around for something that may never come back. And you can imagine how hard this must have hit Nora. Someone is literally telling her, your family is never going to come back. And I think that's why she gets so pissed off, because she realizes, look, if you suffered this much, if you suffered as much as I have, you would realize that nothing is next. There is no such thing as ambiguous loss. Everything is wrong. Everything is a problem. You couldn't move on. There is no happiness. How could you dare write this book? And that's why I think she got pissed off.
Well, we found out how he had happiness. It only costs $1,000.
Well, yeah. Holy Wayne, you could say one thing, but the man, he ain't cheap.
Well, White Wayne takes her to Holy Wayne, and good thing Holy Wayne takes PayPal because, I doubt Nora had $1,000 cash on her. And then she goes behind this curtain, and they were making this big deal about the curtain, and it reminded me of the veil in Harry Potter, Order of the Phoenix.
You're a wizard, Harry.
Where everyone's kind of looking at it, and they're like, what is that? I don't really know if I should go in it. That looks a little scary, but then sure enough, Sirius dies in it.
Spoiler alert.
So, I was kind of like, Nora, don't go behind the curtain, because once you go, you can't really turn around. And sure enough, Wayne's in there.
Oh, which is a great reveal. And finally, something that actually happens with Wayne that finally actually makes sense in the story, that I actually care about watching. Everything else that Wayne has done, or that Tom, or the little Asian girl, Christine, I have not cared a single freaking ounce about what happens to these people. But now they finally tie it together. And
Wayne said something really cool that I liked. He said, a live dog is better than a dead lion. Mm-hmm. And that hope is Nora's weakness.
Mm-hmm.
Imagine that, hope being your weakness.
Thinking that she didn't deserve it, but that's why she wants it, I suppose. And I guess that's what Wayne had said. But God, how dire is that? Hope is your weakness. You think that you don't deserve hope, so you just keep fulfilling your own miserableness. And he says to her, if the pain starts to slip away, you seek it out, don't you? But you won't let it kill you, because you won't even kill yourself. You want hope because you think you don't deserve it, but you do. You do deserve hope. And at that point, you see Nora just give up and just turn into a puddle of crap right in front of him. Just all the tears start flowing. And that's when she finally gives up. And I think that's when she finally realizes this Nora Durst that I've been, the Nora Durst that I've been playing, the Nora Durst that I keep giving into and promoting with Angel and the grenade and all these things. This isn't who I am. I can't be this person anymore.
And then she takes Wayne up on his hug. She asks if she's going to forget her family, and he says no. But he asks her if she wants to stop feeling like this, and she says yes. And They go in for one of Wayne's good old-fashioned hugs, man. And she leaves a changed woman.
He asks her, do you want to feel this way? Which is the same thing that White Wayne asks her, too. Do you want to feel this way? And when White Wayne asks her originally, she says, yes, I want to feel this way. Leave me alone. I'm fine. And she tries to walk away. And then obviously White Wayne says, hey, I can tell you how this guy Johansson is a fraud. And then she gives in. And then when Holy Wayne asks her, you just see her like, let go. And it was such, this is my favorite scene of the entire series. It's better than the scene with the baptism. It's better than the scene with Kevin and Lori and Meg, and she's reading him the divorce papers. This was the best one I could possibly think of so far. It was just so beautiful. You saw such a character change, not only for Nora, but for Wayne himself. When he realizes that she not only has lost someone, but someone's, you see his whole mood change. You see everything about him change. He holds his arms out like Jesus being crucified, and he grabs her and he brings her in, and he takes that pain away from her. She changes, her mood changes, even his mood changes. He could feel that pain. Now, whether or not, I don't know if this is like a placebo thing or if this is just like Wayne being like, hey, bro, give me $1,000 and I'll give you a magic hug and your pain will go away. I don't know. Maybe the guy's legit, right? Maybe the guy actually has this power.
I think he definitely has power, but I'm still really grossed out by him. I can't forgive him for like having sex with and having all these charges of rape.
Oh, that's the problem that you have.
Wayne needs to clean his image.
Yep. That's the problem.
So he's trying to do it by hugs. Wayne needs to stop doing hugs. It's a little too close to call. After Nora has this wonderful hug, she goes food shopping, and she gets normal people food, like single serving kind of food.
She got Greek yogurt.
I love
Greek
yogurt.
Not a full gallon of milk. She just gets like a one of those like half gallons or a quarter gallon or a quart of milk. Is it a quart? I don't know.
We don't drink milk. We don't know.
Yeah, sorry.
And then Kevin shows up at her door and is like, hey, Miami would sound cool, but let's go out for a dinner date first. And Nora is happy as can be. She has sugar and spice and everything nice.
She's ready to move on. And I like how she's like, hey, I'm sorry about what I said about your daughter. I had, an off day. And Kevin's like, yeah, divorces will do that to you. And he's being funny in between the whole divorces will do that thing to you and the when he says, oh, you should know I'm a fucking mess. You can see that Nora is actually bringing something out in him that we as viewers have not seen. She's making him lighter. She's making him better. She's making him fuller. It's a better character when Nora is around. I'm starting to like this idea. I noticed, I said this on Twitter, dare I say this is the new Jack and Kate? I don't know. What do you think?
Well, I thought Kate was a slut for being with both Jack and Sawyer, so I never really loved Kate.
For those of you who don't know, we're talking about Lost. Sorry.
Yeah, so I don't know. I'll just, I feel bad for Nora. Hopefully she has a cell phone so she can get in touch with Wayne more frequently. We don't know.
Then the last thing we see is Nora interviewing this lady, and she asks her about question 121, which in the beginning of the episode, it was kind of hidden from us, which is totally Damon Lindelof. And it kind of pissed me off, but I kind of liked it because now throughout the whole episode, all I wanted to know was, what is 121? What in God's name is 121? I just needed to know it. I even paused it a number of times to look at the beginning, thinking I'm never going to see it now. I don't know what it's. And then it ends up being, do you believe the departed are in a better place? And the answer changes to no. And you see this look in Nora's face, and I can't tell if it's a good look or if it's a bad look. Like, oh, maybe I'm starting to feel this pain again. Maybe the magic hug from Wayne isn't working the way that she thought it would. Does it give her that realization that her family really is gone and maybe they are not in a better place?
It made me think, do I think they're in a better place? And I say no.
The problem that Nora's having is that everything she has based her life off of since the departure, everything that she has done it's not real. It's not something that you can touch. It's a problem. She's basing her whole life on maybe her family will come back. Maybe her life will be put back together. She has all of this food and she's throwing it away. It's food that she's trying to use. It's almost fake. It's almost like a prop.
But people do this anyway. When loved ones pass away, and when you see the person in a casket, you bury them. People still do this, where they keep their rooms, they keep their clothes, they keep their possessions exactly the same way.
Yeah, I actually have a personal experience with this. My mother passed away when I was 18, and I can tell you that all her clothes are still in that closet. They're there. And it's not because I don't want to put them away. It's because my dad doesn't want to take them out. Now, I call it creepy, call it loving, call it whatever. My parents were married for 30 years, and they had a wonderful marriage, and they would still be married to this day. People don't let go, and Nora is suffering from this. And the problem that Nora has is something that my dad doesn't have. My dad has that finality. He saw my mother die. It was there. It happened. But Nora doesn't. She doesn't know if they're coming back. She doesn't know any of that crap. She just kind of hopes and wishes. And she just keeps buying this food and living her life, this fake life, this prop life in anticipation of her family coming back, which makes her identity a prop. And that's why Guest was so important. It was so poignant. It was so relevant because it gave Nora an opportunity to get past her prop. I love the scene when Marcus, the creepy guy, who looks a lot like Devon Sawa, by the way. Did you notice that? With his long, creepy 90s hair. He just looked too much like Devon Sawa, in my opinion. No, you don't think so?
No.
He touches the loved one doll. He says, we get these pictures, and we can slowly generate every little thing that made these people them. And he asks, am I soulless? And if you noticed, the doll was a figure of him. And as he's touching it, he's saying, this is real. Touching his own doll just above the place where Nora herself got shot by Angel. He says, this is real. And he really, truly believes that he is helping people with an inorganic object. Something that is not real. It's not that person. It's just a replacement of that person. And that's the problem with Nora. And that's the problem that this guy has. Yeah, he is soulless. You can see that representation of him on that table, sitting there on that slab. It's soulless. And she almost kisses him, and she kisses the doll, and she makes out with the doll. Again, a kiss that's not real. Everything about that scene wasn't real, except for the fact that she was outside of her own life. That doll was not Marcus. Nora was not being herself. Loved that whole scene. Thought it was phenomenal.
She probably had a really bad headache.
Definitely did. All right, let's get into the listener feedback. At BDF331 tweets at us, I like the theory about the GR stealing Kevin's white shirts since his alarm was disabled. The GR is making him crack. Wouldn't it be cool if we saw one of the GR members wearing one of Kevin's white shirts in a future episode, but only after Kevin has officially gone off the deep end, whether that's being institutionalized or putting on leave for being crazy, thereby proving to the audience that he is not crazy once and for all, which becomes a moot point, since it would be too late to save his job and prove the city leaders otherwise. He thinks that this is all part of Patty's master plan. And he also votes to call Patty Linus from now on, too, by the way.
Ooh, nice throwback to Lost. Donald McCarthy says that it's like Wayne is both hugging and ensnaring her, being Nora. Makes him inspiring, but also terrifying. I completely agree with you, Donald. Ooh.
You can't tell if you're supposed to like him or not, and you kind of want to because you think that he is doing this to Nora, that he's really helping her. But then you realize he's bopping little Asian girls at the same time, so he is kind of terrifying. Paige Tidwell tweets, I love Nora. I'm excited to see how the whole thing with Wayne will affect her. What do you think?
I think it's already affected her. I think she is looking at life now with some rosy sunshine glasses.
Do you think it's going to last?
Oh yeah.
Michael
I do.
Michael Cassidy tweets in, question 121 was the question, have the departed moved on to a better place? Do you believe that they are? Spoiler alert for anybody who has not seen the end of Lost here. Okay, episode 121 was the final episode of Lost. And the final scene of Lost you saw was these people moving on to a better light or whatever it was. They had that satisfying, cathartic end as characters. Now, I love this whole concept because it's like Damon Lindelof putting this in there purposely to be like, to be a total Lost shout out for those nerds like Michael, like myself. Total Lost junkies would get this. And it's the idea of, okay, are Jack, Kate, Sawyer, Locke, all these people, are they in a better place now together? And that's the question that is kind of snuck into this episode. Do you believe that? And if you believe it, where are they? And if they're there, are they happy?
I still think they're with the aliens. Godzilla down below tweeted $1,000 to have someone cry on my shoulder. I'll take it. About the difference between the Matt and Nora characters. I liked the fact that in contrast to the Reverend, they showed the anger and its power without destroying the character.
Yeah, the character of Nora. I think he liked how Nora had that catharsis at the end, but they didn't draw her down the way they did for Matt, Reverend Matt. You see him lose all the money. You see him get beat up. You see him lose his church. He had to go through that devastation in order to come to the realization that maybe he was doing the wrong thing. Nora had the exact opposite reaction.
I love these next two tweets. One's from Andre Cole, saying that they've graduated to the next act. Less setup and introduction. They're giving us the real conflict. Pacing is way better. And Alex C. tweeted us, Carrie Coon killed it. Great episode. The groceries at the pre-credits killed me. I think it went the other way. She felt too much. It overflowed, hence the shot therapy. I agree.
Alex, I think you're right. TV News and Views tweeted us. She said that Carrie Coon is amazing. I love when she told Kevin to go F your daughter. He should have just said yes to her for the Miami invite at that point. I think so, guys. That'd be kind of cool. I know I would have said yes. Why not, right? Screw my kids.
Hey.
Sean Mullins tweets at us, the theories blown this week were that the SDS, the sudden departure questionnaire, whatever, was fake, and that maybe Wayne isn't a con artist. Well, maybe the jury's still out on that one.
And Kath Lingenfelter,
who was the writer of this episode, by the way.
Kath, you did a freaking awesome job.
Mm-hmm. She and Damon Lindelof. They freaking knocked it out of the park on this one.
Yeah.
Sorry, go ahead.
She said, the invite to Miami, one of my faves from the book, and I fought for it. Damon agreed and came up with F your daughter. So now we know who props can go to for that.
That was awesome. All right, we got some emails here from Kimber at Leftovers Online. She thinks that in response to the Gladys episode, she thinks that Gladys knew it was going to be her that died, but she didn't realize how far it was going to go. She thinks that the stare down implied Gladys knew. In the last few moments of her life, Gladys realized that everything that she knew and the one person she came to know as family was in fact a lie. So Patty definitely didn't feel her need anymore. She lost her value, and she is planning to replace Gladys with Lori because she needs Kevin. So I think, Kimber, that you're 100% right. Love this idea. We got an email from Ben saying that he thinks what's happening behind the leftovers is a theory called string theory. Now, I'm not going to go over what exactly string theory is. I'm not smart enough to describe it. I'm not smart enough to even summarize it. So I'm going to put it in our show notes. You can read all about it. But basically, it's about how physicists believe that this world is made up of multiple dimensions, 9 to 10 dimensions at least. And they're trying to experiment with this with electromagnetic waves and discover them. And he's saying, what if some of these electromagnetic waves spilled out of the lab one time? And as they raced across the face of the planet, whenever they touched down, they changed the frequency of whomever they washed over, meaning people disappeared into other dimensions. So maybe 2% of the world got zapped into another dimension, or partly into another dimension. Maybe someone can still reach out to the loved ones if they left behind. For example, like the voices that Kevin's dad hears might in fact be real voices. Some of the strange occurrences could be the lost trying to reach out however they can through animals, electrical devices, or even prophets.
Whoa.
Wow, you know what? That is wholly original. That is unbelievable, Ben. What a great theory. I have not heard that. People, our listeners are killing it today. The last email we got was from W. Reckers. He believes that the moving letters in the opening sequence that you see when they keep changing back and forth, some of the letters, he thinks that it is a representation of people and things being replaced. Now, there are multiple clues in the show that touch on the replacement. Think of last week's Baby Jesus. It got stolen, it disappeared, and Kevin was asked to replace it, but he doesn't want to replace it. He wants the original to be found and returned. In the latest episode guest, Nora's badge got stolen, which disappeared, and she did not want it to accept the replacement badge, so she went looking for the original one to get it back, and the imposter was caught. Then this guy at the wild party in the hotel, his company is actually producing human replica dolls, like a replacement for the disappeared person. So his theory is that ultimately the leftovers are not what they think they are. They may still look or act like they used to be, but they were replaced. The focus is on the story of the people who disappeared, but he thinks it's some of the people who stayed behind that have had something happen to them. The GR and the other groups may be the people that actually see this for what it's happening, for what it actually is. You know, when they say things, quotes like, "She's not your wife anymore," and "there is no family," all allude to the fact that whatever this is, it's a replacement of what it used to be. Great job, guys. Awesome. Love what you have to say. All of these theories are completely original, completely cool. I love everything about it. All right, what do you say we get to our voicemails, kid?
Woohoo!
The first message is from Andrew, and he wants to let us know how he feels about the leftovers. All right, Andrew, take it away.
Hello, Living Reminders Podcast. This is Andrew from Alabama, AnimeFan77 on Twitter. And I have a bone to pick with you. The first one is that you typed your phone number wrong when you entered it into Twitter to give me the voicemail number. It is 6730, not 6703. The second bone I have to pick with you involves, the show. You had some harsh words for my critique of the show, and I'm here to defend it. You were not wrong in your assessment that I think the show sucks. You were a little misleading in that our Twitter exchange wasn't just one quick message. It was several messages over the course of almost the entire evening after the show had aired. I had many points, and I have many problems with the show, and I apologize in advance for the link to this voicemail. The first problem with the show being the main family. The sheriff is losing his mind, going slowly insane. The daughter is traumatized, or emo if you prefer. The son has run off just away from town, away from the family entirely, and the mother has joined a cult. But let me remind everyone, nothing's wrong with them. They're all still there. Insanity, fleeing. A mother abandoned her children for no reason. Nothing happened to them. They didn't lose anyone. They're all still there. His father's still there. He didn't even get taken. So the main family of the show doesn't make sense from a character perspective at all. Let's focus in on the priest episode, the episode, I believe before this, the one that just aired, where the entire focus of the episode, in fact, it's a good microcosm for the entire focus of the show. The show is about grief, is about nihilism, sadness, loss, and that is a perfect example of it. The priest represents hope. It represents humanity. And what does he do? He beats up a thug to get his money back. He tries to help the people who are damning him, and what does he get for it? He loses his church to those very people. The episode ends on a perfect dichotomy, a two-shot of Patty's face, death mask, and his face, all hope lost. That is the show. That is the show you're watching. That is the show you've dedicated the podcast to. It's an exercise in pointlessness. The show itself is fundamentally flawed. The idea is that you want the creators of the show, Damon Lindelof, a big hand in Lost. The fatal flaw of Lost was he knew how to weave in interesting mystery, interesting questions. He didn't know how to pay them off. His answer to that is The Leftovers, where he begins the show with a big mystery and just kicks it off by saying, guess what? We're not going to explain it because I can't do it. So I use the phrase lazy writing, call it what you will. But at the end of the day, why the show doesn't work is that no matter what these characters go through, it's set in a real world. Nothing's going to happen unless something supernatural starts to happen all the time. Nothing's going to happen to them that's going to be remotely as interesting as actually explaining the mystery. If the mystery does get explained at any point, it completely undermines the entire premise of the show. But that is the premise of the show, is that happens. It's not a car crash. It's not a car crash in slow motion. It's a 20-car pileup in a super high definition. Well, you know those cameras the Mythbusters have where they go like super frame by frame flow? Like one with one of those. It's a high cost, high production value, beautifully shot, wonderfully acted train wreck. Thanks.
Andrew, thank you for calling in. I love these kind of conversations. First, I do admit that I screwed up the number on Twitter. I own that. Totally my fault. Second, the Garvey family. Yeah, they're screwed up. It's got some issues. But I would say just because they haven't lost anybody, that doesn't mean they don't have issues. That doesn't mean that there aren't things going around them that where they can feel the repercussions of the departure. You still don't know why Lori has joined the GR. Let that play out. Secondly, the priest is an indicator of a man's fall. That's the point. But he loses in the end. It's an overall point that he is ultimately wrong. Everything he does is wrong. That's his character. It's not a pointless. It's not a character study in pointlessness. It's a lesson. Don't be like Matt. It will never win. And three, look, I'm not going to make this about Lost. This is a Leftovers podcast, but I will say this. I challenge anybody who says that the mysteries were not answered in Lost to tell me which mysteries were not answered. I actually argue that all of them were. In fact, well, maybe a case could be made for Walt, but there's still an answer there if you pay attention to it. Ultimately, what I'm saying is this. Lindelof is a good writer, and he is telling you up front that, yes, the departure matters, but it's not absolutely necessary to the story of the people of Mapleton, the Garvey family. It's not necessary to explain what the departure is, where the people went, and if they're coming back. The story is about the people and how they deal with the departure, not the actual mystery of the departure. Next up, we have our girl, Shakita.
Hi, it's Shakita, or Serena6783. I just watched The Leftovers again, the Gladys episode, and I know you guys said that you don't think that anything's going on between Matt and Lori. I think there is. The whole her blowing the whistle in his face, it was out of some kind of pain, because when she ran up to him and she's staring directly at him, it's like there's pain there, and he looked pissed off because he figured maybe it's been long enough, whatever happened, she probably forgave him, but she didn't. She was pissed, he was pissed, so I really want to know what's going on. I'm really curious. Looking forward to your next show. Have a good day. Bye.
Thanks for calling, Shakita. I don't know if you're necessarily right, but I'm willing to let this one play out. Could there be a relationship between the two? Maybe. But, God, I can't see myself getting involved in this one. I don't know yet. The next message is from Sean. All right, Sean, what do you got?
Hey there, Mary and Blake. This is Sean calling from North Hollywood, California. Just listened to your last episode for the episode Gladys, and one thing you guys mentioned, which I didn't catch in the show, but how Patty said to Lori what they talked about in their last session makes me think that Lori was a psychiatrist and Patty was one of her patients. Could be, maybe not, who knows? Interesting. What do you guys think? Loving the show. Keep it up. And take care. Have a good one. Bye.
Sean, I think you're absolutely 100% right on this one. There was definitely some kind of psychiatrist relationship there or patient relationship. This was an excellent catch by you. I love it, and I can't wait to see you proven right. Thank you so much for this catch. Our final voicemail is from Brian with an extremely awesome catch on the latest episode, Guest. I'll let him explain. Go ahead, kid.
Mary and Blake, this is at BDF331, aka Brian. You might recall when Nora first walks into the drop conference that she scans the crowd and we see our first glimpse of Tom Noonan's character, Casper, the really tall bald guy, aka the Ripper from Last Action Hero. When we see him, he's comforting a bearded man and likely recruiting him for a $1,000 Holy Wayne hug, as the episode later reveals. Later in the episode, Nora goes to get on the elevator and she sees Tom Noonan, aka Casper, aka the Ripper, consoling the same bearded man from earlier as he's now crying. Nora then says she'll get the next elevator, which has Marcus and friends partying up a storm already. We know how that plays out. Eventually, once Nora is kicked out of the hotel, she starts walking down the street and a man says good morning to her, which is quite heard of in New York City, as a Californian like myself would expect. The man must be quite happy to do such a thing. Well, guess who it is? It's the same bearded man that Holy Wayne's recruiter, Tom Noonan, had been comforting throughout the episode and likely took to Holy Wayne right before Nora. That's why he was in such a cheerful mood to the point where he'd say, good morning to a stranger in Manhattan of all places. So who is this bearded man? Knowing Damon Lindelof's writing like I do, I had a feeling that he was someone more than just the first drop conference attendee that Tom Noonan, aka Casper, aka the Ripper, persuaded into purchasing a Holy Wayne hug. I asked the co-writer of the episode, along with Damon Lindelof, Kath Lingenfelter, who the bearded man was since they showed him 3 times throughout the episode. Co-writer Kath Lingenfelter replied to me that we've seen him before this episode and tweeted separately from my chat with her that we would likely see him again. I did some digging on IMDb to see the actor credits in this episode, and I stumbled on a Mr. Johnson character played by an actor named Noel Wilson. Guess what other episode a Mr. Johnson, the character name, also appeared in? Matt's episode, 2 Boats and a Helicopter. He is the man who walked into Matt's church and attacked him since Matt wrote bad things about his wife, Mrs. Johnson, being a pill pusher. He then shoved the flyer into Matt's mouth and walked out of the church after beating him to a pulp. His beard is a bit thinner in this episode, but it's definitely the same guy. When you freeze frame the flyer, it has Johnson written on it as well. Mary and Blake, I apologize for the long-winded message as well as your audience, but I hope you guys got something out of this voicemail. I also want to thank you for your efforts as I adore your podcast. And most importantly, you're prepared for every show and you do your homework, unlike many. So keep doing what you're doing, guys. Namaste.
Ryan, excellent detective work. Fantastic job. Love the voicemail. Again, you guys are killing it with the feedback today. Brian also gave me the screenshot that he was talking about the paper. I will include that in the show notes. Be sure to check that out.
All right, Blake. What was the winner of this week's Tweet of the Week?
The Tweet of the Week this week was actually somewhat of a small conversation between Lolita Play and Rachel Brown. Lolita said, Wayne does give that look like he's going to rape you instead of heal you, and she laughs about it. And Rachel replies, yeah, he's pretty much the last person I'd let hug away my problems. So congratulations, guys, on the Tweet of the Week.
Woohoo! It is time for the sudden theory of the week. Blake, what do you got for us?
All right. We all know that Nora and Kevin are going to get together. It's going to happen. It's written on the walls here. It's just no question it's going to happen. And it's going to be a good thing. That's obvious. Kevin is a better person when around Nora. And I think now that Nora has been healed, she's not that crazy type like ex-girlfriend or the crazy girlfriend that you know. So it's going to be a good thing. But guess who's going to have a giant freaking problem with all of this?
Lori.
No, Amy. Amy is going to find out about Kevin and Nora's relationship.
Amy is slutty friend.
Yes, Amy is slutty friend. And she's going to find out about this relationship, and she's going to go all kinds of Drew Barrymore poison ivy on Kevin. And she's going to set him up to think that he slept with Amy. And she's going to ruin Kevin's relationship with Nora. There's no way that they're actually going to have Kevin sleep with an underage person. It's not going to happen. So what's going to happen? Amy is going to ruin the relationship. She's going to set him up somehow. Maybe she's going to drug him. Maybe she's going to get him super cocked. I don't know what's going to happen because we all know Kevin's got a drinking problem. And she's going to ruin this relationship. And Amy is going to set up the conflict between Nora and Kevin. And it's going to be one giant pain in the ass. How about you? What do you got?
Wow. This episode just was so awesome that I almost wanted to stop making my own theories. I just wanted to soak it in and watch it a couple of times. My hope, it's not a theory, is I hope that we have at least 1 or 2 more episodes like this. I would love a full-on episode of just the mayor. I think that would be a really cool thing. So my theory is that they're going to have a whole episode dedicated to the mayor. And for those of you who are interested, I actually got to interview the actress who portrays Mayor Lucy on Huffington Post Live. It was such a cool interview. I got to ask her a very interesting question. We will put the link in our show notes so you can see it, but it was a really great opportunity to interview one of the show's stars. So I think she's going to have a real shining episode, maybe in 2 episodes.
Yep.
But as in regards to theories, my mind is blown after this one, so I can't do anything deep.
No problem. We'll do it. What do you say? You want to close out the show now?
Yes.
All right, let's do it.
You are all leaving us such excellent feedback, excellent interactions. If you want your voice to be on here so it can be a real conversation, you want to head to our website. It's thelivingreminders.com.
You can also get us on Facebook. I love Facebook. You can reach us at facebook.com/livingreminders.
We're also on Twitter at Living Reminders, and we are also on Instagram. I want you guys to know that all of the artwork that you see on Facebook, on Twitter, on our website, Blake has been designing, and we also put it up on Instagram. So check it out. We're just at Living Reminders. It's pretty easy to remember.
We love email. Email us all the time. Your emails will be read. I will respond to them. If I haven't responded to them, they are probably more than likely going to end up on our show. So get us at livingreminders@gmail.com.
And last but certainly not least, if you like this show, please take a moment to rate and review us in iTunes. You guys are the best listeners. Blake and I are having such a blast chatting with you and having you join us in these discussions because pretty much Blake and I sit at our dining room table and this is like our night together. So we feel like we're a night together with hundreds of friends. So
we're even doing it when Mary's in Brooklyn.
Yeah. I'm not even in the same state as Blake and I'm participating. So I would just love for the Living Reminders love to get even bigger. So please rate and review us on iTunes.
I just want to spread the podcast love to the Guilty Remnant podcast and the Leftovers with Jay and Jack. They had both some very kind words for our show, and I just want to let them know that you guys are a class act. And for our listeners, I want you to go listen to their show too. They're very smart, very entertaining, and it's a great addition to our show. And if you don't like what you're hearing in our show, I totally recommend that you go listen to those guys. Thank you so much for those kind words. It means more to us than you can possibly imagine.
Oh, you can do whatever you like.
Look, get us on the hotline. Please, it's on the website, but just for our purposes now, it's 503-454-6730. It goes straight to voicemail. I'd love to hear your voices. You obviously heard the voicemails that were here today, that were on the show. So original, so awesome. Thank you guys. And it just expands the conversation. We're also working on something very special for you guys, too. I can't tell you what it is quite yet, but it is extremely special, and it is going to be a separate episode of the Living Reminders. So just be prepared for that. It may happen this week, it may happen next week, but we got something special up our sleeves, and I cannot wait to reveal it. So if you can't get enough of Mary and Blake, you can always get us on our other podcast at Parentcast Podcast livingreminders.com.
And for any of you who are Outlander fans, Outlander is going to be coming out on Stars this weekend. Huge, huge, huge show, huge following. It's a book series. Blake and I are going to be jumping on the Outlander boat as well. And so we are doing that podcast. We'll send more information in show notes on our website, thelivingreminders.com.
What's going to be our Outlander podcast name?
Outlander Cast.
So check us out for Outlander Cast. We're going to continue to just keep ourselves busy, watch more TV, and podcast about it. And we would love to have you guys as listeners. All right. Thank you so much. I'm Blake.
I'm Mary.
And we're the Living Reminders. Thanks, guys.
Thank you.